3 words. Classic Radeon power. This is the Radeon R9 270X. It's nothing special, a 2013 refresh of 2012's HD 7870 with slightly higher clock speeds. The main appeal was the price. The 7870 launched at $350 US. The 270X was $200. As Tim said a decade ago,
this card literally cannot be beaten on value.
God, I feel old. The Gigabyte Windforce model was his main GPU for the first few years of Green Hand Gaming, but to date, the 270X never got its own dedicated video. So tonight, we're going to make our own. Get yourself a cup of tea or a beer if that's more your thing, and come along for the ride as we celebrate a certified Radeon classic. On paper, the 270X is more powerful than the PS4's GPU, but raw power isn't everything. This 270X uses the original GCN architecture, and, like Tim's Gigabyte card, only has 2 gigs of VRAM. The PS4 steps up to 2nd generation GCN and has 8 gigs of unified RAM to go around, so the 270X is going to struggle in newer games that soak up more VRAM. To get the most out of the R9, we're going to use the modded Radeon ID drivers, and of course, overclock it. Out of the box, Powercolor pushed the core to 1100 MHz and the memory to 1425, but I got 1162 and 1499 out of it respectively. Not great, but better than nothing. Without further ado, how does the R9 270X perform in game? I'm just kidding, that's too obvious. The Witcher 3 with the next-gen update runs well at 1080p, though the frame rate drops hard when the wild hunts show up, even at lowest settings. If you'd rather have nicer visuals, you can drop to 900p and switch to the medium preset with all the goodies enabled, and get arguably more consistent performance. Doom 2016 runs even better, averaging 60 FPS with an overclock, and it's not far off that mark at stock. If Civ is your series, the R9 has you covered, as long as you don't care about Civ 7. 6 runs beautifully at 1080p medium in the mid-game, and even the post-game with the Gathering Storm expansion never drops below 30. If you didn't grow up with the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy on PS1, that's okay, because the Insane trilogy is great on the Radeon, objectively better than the locked 30 you'd get on a PS4 or Xbox One. It's a shame you're capped to 60 FPS on PC without jumping through hoops, though. Forza Horizon 4 overloads the VRAM on this card, but handles it gracefully. 1080p medium is technically playable, but the game just isn't as responsive as I'd like. I put hours into this game on the 270X at very low, and the experience is so much better. The second newest Far Cry game is a treat on this card. It's good enough for 1080p high if you don't mind 30 plus FPS. If you'd rather have 60, you can drop to 900p medium, and the game is still gorgeous. The latest installment in the Trackmania series is a hard one to test, mostly because I suck at it and don't have club access. I did the best I could, and so did the Radeon, putting down great frame rates at 1080p even with some good old-fashioned MSAA. Hitman World of Assassination runs okay with the game's suggested settings at 1080p, and you can get to 60 FPS easily by dropping to 1366 by 768 and turning SSAO and level of detail down to low. Sadly, the good news stops with 2022's Grid Legends. This is a textbook case of VRAM overflow handled badly. The game stutters like crazy even at 720p, and that's a shame because prior entries like Autosport have some of the best optimization in gaming, period. First Gen GCN really struggles in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I dropped every setting as low as it'd go, and it still wasn't enough to reach palatable frame rates. I also tried the game on an HD 7790, a card that uses 2nd Gen GCN, and it did substantially better despite being weaker on paper. The 270X bounces back in Counter-Strike, with very playable performance at 1080p and plenty of room to grow if you're a heathen that plays stretched. Last year's PC port of Red Dead Redemption nearly hit 60 FPS at stock, though it's not perfect. FSR-AA isn't available on this card for some reason, and I had to cut back the shadows to medium to keep the frame times from getting too spiky. It's still a great time overall, and personally I think it's a better game than the sequel. The 270X is even capable of running some of this year's games, like the Unreal Engine 5 powered Fantasy Life I. 1080p medium is doable, but you'll want to cap the frame rate to 30 to stop the cutscenes from playing in slow motion, or you can drop all the settings and get well above 60 FPS. The choice is yours. So, that's the R9 270X. I won't mince words here, this is not a card fit for modern gaming. Even if it were a 4GB model, it'd still be based on 13-year-old tech and have no active driver support, on Windows at least. There's just too much it can't do, but focusing on that is missing the point. There are more games the 270X can handle than you could possibly play in a lifetime. I had never played Far Cry 3, Quantum Break, or Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 before making this video, but I finished them all on the 270X, and picked up LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga and Far Cry 5 again after putting them down for months. That's why I'll forever be a PC gamer. Doesn't matter how old or crappy your PC is, there are always great games to play. You just have to find them.